Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine, except that for the first time in my life, I got this eye inflammation. So I look like a
Ah,
pilot.
sure,
I,
sure.
I woke up this morning and I felt, oh, something wrong with my eye. And my wife said, wow, it's you got an inflamed eye, which I never had. Otherwise,
No.
it's really fine. How are you?
For me, everything is right. Thank
Yeah?
you.
Yeah?
Thank you. So, did you receive all the samples?
I got them here and I open all
Yes.
six. I haven't poured any yet because I wanted to see what order, etc. you wanted to show them. It looks very exciting, and I'm very happy that almost all information that I needed is on the sheet and on the labels. Um,
So, yeah, you already know Valentin Leflaive now, so maybe we can skip all about the code and all these things.
yeah,
So, I think we can start
yeah, there it is.
with
I, the only question I had when I was reading is the amount of, because you say everything is oak barrel and stainless steel, how much of each, and the same, the amount of reserve wine I didn't find. How much
for
is,
all the
yeah,
single plots, all the lieux-dits
yeah,
are should be vintage.
okay.
So that's why you don't have any information
Ah,
about reserve wine
ah,
because we don't have any in the blending.
okay.
But because we are quite new, we don't want to say it's a vintage. If we compare
Ah,
with all our competitor on the
I
market,
see.
they are all releasing some 18
Yeah,
or maybe younger, and so we don't want to sell today some from 20, and that's why we don't say it's a vintage.
okay. But in the future, they will be vintaged on the
Um,
label, or you haven't decided for that?
So now, when we in the future, when we will say it's a vintage,
Yeah.
it means for us you have a really highest quality in all the range. For us, vintage a bottle is really important for the
Mm,
quality
mm,
and to add an extra value to the bottle. We
yeah.
do a lot of lieu-dit. Some are really amazing, and some other are maybe more classic, I would say.
Yeah.
So on the one really amazing, we want to say it's a vintage,
Okay.
but it's gonna be in the future.
Yep. Yeah. And the
So
amount of stainless steel and oak barrels.
so it depends. On the first release, we were more so on the Corette and Peignot, it was about 90%, and for those one, it's more about 70% of barrel.
Okay.
We have less oak on those one,
Okay.
but we still block all the malolactic fermentation
Hmm.
on all these cuvées from the vintage 20. So that's why you can have this maybe sharp side in our champagne, but it's
Yeah.
also a kind of freshness.
Yeah.
And
Which is, it's so logical today with the warm vintages to do it more and more often.
yeah, but we had quite a small surprise because we just have some champagne from the vintage 21.
Okay.
And so 20 was really warm, so we already have a low malic acidity level at the
Mm.
beginning of the vinification, and to
Yeah.
keep it was really logical for this vintage. But for the 21, it seems really, really sharp.
Okay.
So I think we will need more time for this vintage to get ready to be released.
Okay.
But I think it's something now I'm more used to do partial malolactic fermentation. I try to
Mm.
keep some malic acid to bring this electric touch in
Yeah.
the wine, but not something too sharp.
No.
It's
It's
really
always an
really hard.
act of balance, and I think it's too many producers who have set the rule. We never do, or we always do, because it's exactly like you say. Even different plots, definitely different vintages are suitable for different handling.
Mm. So yeah, that's basically the kind of vinification we are doing at Valentin Leflaive.
Mhm.
And we try to adapt on each vintage and to find the best balance because we produce single plot. Most of the time it's one or two growers who provide us the grapes. So we need to find the balance. We don't have this really useful tool of champagne called the blending. Here we only produce single plot with one grapes. So we have to do the perfect vinification at the beginning.
Yeah. And the plots that you receive grapes from, could it change from time to time, or do you know that you have a contract for these vineyards for many years to come?
I would love to say I have contract with all my growers for many years, but yeah, Champagne market is quite tough,
Yeah,
almost on this area of Grand Cru and Premier Cru. So with some growers, I have contract for 5 years, and with
yeah.
some others, it's negotiation every year.
Hmm.
So my job, a big part of my job is to keep all the growers and to keep working with them. But yes, on some plots will disappear in the future, but most of them will stay in the range.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really tough.
Yeah, yeah. It's important to have good friends.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You know, when you're a brand new company like Valentin Leflaive in Champagne, we fight with really old and famous champagne houses like Krug, Roederer,
Mm,
who looks to have the same grapes as
mm,
us.
mm.
So nobody really know Olivier Leflaive in Champagne. So when I arrived, I explained, I come from Burgundy, or I come from Champagne, but I work for a Burgundy company who
Yeah.
would like to pay you for your grapes. Everybody said at the beginning, but who are you?
They
Sorry.
didn't know.
Olivier
It's
Leflaive is
rather
not really famous in Champagne.
strange. It
Uh,
should be.
we drink a lot of champagne here, but less
Yeah.
Burgundy wine.
Yeah, yeah. Especially the whites. It's a
Yeah,
little bit
sure.
like that, which is rather logical. But many of the greatest winemakers from the big houses that I know well, they're absolutely crazy about Burgundy wines. So
Yeah.
it's becoming more and more. But for a long time, when I started my champagne journey many years ago, then it was really clear that the only other wine that was popular were among a few who drank red Bordeaux. Everything else
Ah,
was just uninteresting, and Burgundy was too close, and that you had the same type of grapes, so
yeah.
you became local.
But I think now with the time, we in Champagne we are more used to drink Burgundy wine. Oh, now
Mm,
I'm
mm,
definitely a Burgundy wine guy, but
yeah,
I think yeah, I see more and more people in Champagne drinking Burgundy wine.
yeah,
So yeah, it makes us easier to find some growers because they want some Burgundy wine in exchange. So
yeah.
it's easier.
That's good. Okay, where do
So
we start?
I think we
Which,
can start by the first cru we have in the range
yeah,
from Mareuil-sur-Aille. It's called Les
yeah.
Basclés.
That was the sensational one because Blanc de Blanc from Mareuil, I never tasted. It's very often a little bit of Chardonnay in the blends, but many are Blanc de Noirs as well, but never seen a Blanc de Blanc.
So you have seen last year we have released Les Terres Rouges with a Chardonnay Les Terres Rouges.
Yeah,
So it was different from the rest of Les Terres Rouges made by Jackson. And here it's another clin d'œil,
yeah.
sorry, to this terroir of Pinot Noir when we can also produce some wonderful Chardonnay, I think. So here it's in this single plot called Les Basclés. So I already said about the malolactic fermentation and the barrel. The idea is here maybe to have something really on the freshness, the tension, uh, and after you have all this aromatic from a South Exposure Chardonnay, really aromatic.
It's very different from Cote Blanc. in style. It's
Yes.
the terroir is, you have some hints of the things you normally find in the Blanc Noirs. Of course, the grape is there, but it's more, you have a little bit of iron notes, or the minerality is more, less direct chalkiness, more of iron, magnesium, and those kind of things which are important in Marais. Some
Mm.
red fruits together with the fresh greenness of the wine, I think. Very youthful. For me, I will not open yet. It's
Yeah,
really, really refined, but the energy is dominating over uh, the buttery style, which comes with a little bit late more aging.
this one was quite electric. I love to
Mm.
say the word electric for this wine.
Very nice. Make a note. And in this in the Ludi, there's Pinot Noir as well, but you received Chardonnay.
The
Or
growers which who we work with only
yeah.
produce Chardonnay from there. So
Okay. Cool.
his plot is only with Chardonnay. So we
Mm-hmm.
receive all the Chardonnay from this plot to produce. I think it's a really small quantity of bottle. It's less than 2,000 bottles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really small production. Today, to give you an idea, we produce about 100,000 bottles per year,
Yeah.
but we already have released more than 20 different champagne.
Yeah.
It's Burgundy vision of champagne, but
Yeah.
too much champagne today.
Yeah, it's tricky to follow, but it's a smorgasbord of things to choose from. So it's for the consumer perhaps a little bit confusing, but
Yeah.
with a lot of great wines.
Even if the customer is confusing, he is never lost because everything is good. So
Yeah,
it's correct.
it's true. And they recognize the label even if they don't know the LUD, I think.
Yeah, sure.
I think most people, it's just us nerds who are
Yeah.
checking for instance, two different plots in Aucher, which will be very interesting to taste side by side. Um, and yeah, a good
So
example.
let's move on to Cremant.
Okay. I actually, I happened to just put them by chance in this order. That was my number
Oh,
one and my number two. One and two. And
okay.
could you change on this? Oh, you have done.
Yeah.
Great.
Sorry,
Great.
my
Perfect.
computer is a little bit slow, so
Yeah.
yeah, it takes time. So now we are in Cramant-les-Bauves. It's at the bottom of the slope, just next to the street, the national road. When
Mm-hmm.
you just cross Wary Cellar from Moët et Chandon, and you go straight on the street, and you see this single plot Les Bauves on the right. And so there you have early deep soil with kind of east exposure. Um, and this
Wow.
one here is really more aromatic than
Yeah.
the Cramant village for me.
Mm.
And yeah, it's a definition of a gastronomic champagne also.
Yeah.
Really opulent. So
Very good. Much more ready to enjoy directly.
yeah.
Really, really beautiful. And you said 70% oak barrel.
Yes.
And how many bottles produced?
For this one, Les Bauves, it's about 2,500 bottles.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that, yes. And what do you
They are so different.
yeah,
It's really
sure.
amazing to have them side by
It's the
side.
same vintage. Yes, we for the barrels, sometimes it can change this the smell of the touch of oak can really change because we never use brand new barrels. but it can be age of 4, 5, 6 different vintage by barrel, so it
Yeah.
can really change this oak taste in the wine.
And they've been used for white Burgundy before.
Exactly.
Mm.
So yes, and for this Cremant, we decided to put this maybe higher dosage of 5 grams to bring this balance and to make it maybe more round, more
Yeah. Yeah.
full-bodied. So,
I saw that. That was the highest dosage in the
yeah,
lineup.
but it's still
Yeah.
an extra brut, you know.
Yeah. 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 And it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. It shouldn't be more or less. I think it's complete in its style. And it's always dosage question is. I remember I was actually working with. I just knocked the door the day Anselm Selos was
Hmm?
deciding his dosage for the new Solera, the substance. And the big question mark, because I joined him in tasting them, and we had with very small percentage differences in between, and the result was very different
Yeah,
of the wine. But the big question is how long it will be kept, because you need more dosage in the beginning very often, and
yeah,
sometimes the dosage could be too evident in the beginning and melt together, gets more harmonious. So it's really tricky to make the perfect choice, because too many winemakers are just checking how it tastes right now, and of course very many people are drinking it quite directly. But if you speak about perfection, it's you need to have that in mind when you make it.
sure. I used to do it alone, but sometime with Jean Soubéran, our CEO,
Yeah.
he come from Burgundy, so he don't know anything about the dosage.
No.
So it was like teaching something to my boss. So it
Mm,
was really interesting.
mm,
But we made all this single variation of sugar level in the wine, and he was so surprised
yeah.
how it changed all the aromatic and
Yeah.
this the tasting on the palate. So yeah, it's a really interesting exercise. And
Um,
we need to do it each time on each cuvée, so it takes so
yeah.
many times.
Yeah. The Mareuil is opening up much more now, getting closer. Um, there is a little bit a hint of vanilla and caramel now, which was not there from the start. Beautiful. And very often I encourage people to drink two champagnes connected to each other in one way or the other, side by side, because it's always they are complementary very often, and it's so interesting to have them to every course or whenever you drink. I of course I very often open more than two, but for each dish when I eat, I like to have two, and to follow in the glass together with the meal.
Yeah. Uh,
Okay, first of the Auchers, and
First
this one,
OG, so
Le
les
Beau
Baudur.
Dur. Uh, where was that? It's here.
So les Baudur for the terroir, it's in the middle of the slope.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really west exposure more on Menil side. So
Uh-huh.
you will find more minerality in this OG wine style, I would say.
Mm.
And yeah, this one is really interesting, really opulent like OG, but you have a lot of minerality from this Menil side, I would say. It's really hard to describe OG by himself because
Yeah.
when you have this Avis side, it's a really different style from Menil side, I think.
Yeah. Extremely fresh minerality, but also a beautiful, elusive bouquet.
I
Very
think we have here
flowery. Uh, I
all
got
the
more.
aromatic of OG because it's really opulent. That's what
Mm,
I mean by this yeah, OG wine, OG style, but with a lot of minerality. And I think this comes from this Menil style.
yeah. How many
So
bottles
now,
do you put aside for uh, tasting after aging? Are you keeping a couple of hundreds for in the
uh,
house, or are you
what
selling everything?
we produce so little bottles of each.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
only keep 60 bottles of each.
Okay.
So it's a really small quantity. And now we are thinking, because even if we keep 60 bottles of each,
Mm.
because we have already released 20 different cuvées, it already make a huge quantity of champagne. So now we are thinking to change a little bit the rule and maybe to find something more logical and
Yeah.
maybe keep less bottles of, for example, the Premier Cru Maroilles or 18 Terre Rouge. It's
Mm.
not something maybe in the future we don't want to taste it really. If we compare with some Les Bauves or Les Corettes
Mm.
bottles where we really want to have more historic parts.
Yeah.
When did you open the bottle? It was 20
Uh,
minutes before
no,
the
no,
teams?
that 5 minutes before,
Okay.
as late as possible, uh, so we could follow them. And they're standing here now, but they were a little bit too cold first, but they're perfect right now.
Okay.
See here.
Because we often say, because it was this gorge, maybe it was 3 months ago now, 4 months.
Yeah.
We love to open it a little bit before to make it a
Yeah.
little bit more opened, more easy to understand. But yeah, we are between professionals, so.
Yeah. I follow. And I can retaste later today as well. I pour the other Auger now to have side by
So
side.
la petite haie,
Yeah, exactly.
which
You
is
pronounce
this.
it Le Petit A. It's tricky because age in
Yes.
our language, you always pronounce it. So in a Swedish guy would say La Petite Hay,
Oh,
but
quite the same.
I
So in French, la petite haie just means the small tree.
uh-huh.
So yeah, I think in the past it was just the border made by tree to
Yeah.
explain. Yeah, this was this plot of la petite haie. So this time you are more on avis and at the bottom or at the bottom of the slope. So
Okay.
it's not the same terroir. Here you have maybe a deeper soil with more south exposure. So you have something, I think, something more opulent than the previous one. Uh, and yes, it's maybe more elegant. We have an extra thin bubble in the glass.
Like that. Completely different style. I prefer the Manil on the nose.
Just a question of point of view.
Mm.
But it's really, we have a lot of people who really love this fineness from Avis, Auger, from this pump, and others really love the minerality of
Yeah,
Menil and so on. So this neighbor part of Auger from the Menil is really also really interesting for them.
yeah. Well, I like it as well, but it will have lower marks for me than the first. Mm.
Because it's less complex, or
I think their aromatic profile is less elegant. I find a little bit too much of pear
yeah,
instead of the purity of the citrus notes,
yeah,
which are so it's a slightly more rustique for me. Intensity,
I
yes,
agree.
it's there, but the refinement, aristocratic grace that you have in the other one is, for me, of higher quality.
Mm. Maybe a few words if you compare both. Baudur were harvested at the beginning of the harvest, and La Petite Haie was maybe one of the last harvest on this the last peak during this harvest 2020. So it's maybe 4 or 5 days of different maturity.
Yeah.
And I think that's why les Baudur have maybe more this citrus part.
Yeah.
And the other one, it's more about fruit because you have this longer ripening for
Yeah.
the grapes.
Among the barrels, are they treated the same way? Are I mean the toastiness and things like that from the beginning? Are they handled treated as the same way, or could
To
it?
be honest and transparent, I don't have the exact traceability of each aging of barrel.
No.
Because when they ship it here in Champagne, uh, they erase all the things we can see on the barrel.
Ah.
So I just know it's maybe from this the date of uh, creation of the barrel, but sometimes they don't use it during 1 or 2 years.
Ah.
So I know it come from this vintage, but after I don't know the kind of toast or even how many wine exactly we have in the barrel.
Super. It's this is a lesson for everyone who thinks that they know a village by style. Take these two, made by the same vinification, the same producer, everything, but so different. It's amazing.
And I think it's
Same
all
village.
the goal of Valentin Leflaive is to show and to
Yeah.
explain a little bit the terroir. We don't want to
Yeah.
say we don't want to produce only, and maybe we cannot produce like a pretty prestigious cuvée like all the big company, but it's more this Burgundy way to see the things and explain a
Yeah.
little bit the terroir by all this tasting, and it's always it's always the best way to understand things is by tasting.
Yeah. I pour the abyss now.
Yes,
How
Avis
do
les
you
Roches.
Le Roche?
So this one is at the top of the slope.
Yeah. And the
So
oldest vines, 45 years. That's the highest average
yeah,
age of them I
this
saw.
one is
Yeah.
quite old, and it you also have not Flavescence dorée, sorry, Cournouet. Do you know this disease?
Uh,
Cournouet?
no.
No, I don't have the English for this one. It's a virus
Ah.
in the plant, and you produce
Ah. Yeah.
less
Yeah. Yeah.
grapes.
Yeah.
And so this one is really affected by this virus, and so we produce. This one is less than 1,000 bottles, and yeah, it's quite difficult to have it every year because
Yeah.
it really depends of the weather and the quality of the vintage. Because yeah, it produces a few quantity of grapes every year. But for this one and for this vintage, we have it, and for the next also. Uh, and here, so you are at the top of the slope. It's yeah, you have this clay, limestone, and chalk, but we are really at the bottom of Les Roches. It just when you go from Avis to Cramant, you have the vineyard just on the left of the street.
Okay.
And that's why it's really important for us to be at the bottom of this plot, because when you are at the top, it's only on the clay, and it's absolutely not the same rush, I think. So here you have Avis style with a lot of
Yeah.
elegance, minerality, complexity, a touch of barrel of oak, and you have a beautiful freshness also.
I will compare with the Cremant,
Ah,
which
so
I thought
it's
was my favorite so far, and then
so now you can compare two
yeah.
terroirs because you have the bottom of the slope and the top of the slope. One
Yeah.
is warmer than the other one, and Les Bauves is at on the chalk 100%, and this one is a blend with chalk and a little bit of clay. So
They are very close in quality, those two, Davis and
it's
Cremant.
because it's only high quality.
Mm.
No,
They're so pure. both of them. The mid palate of the Cremant is richer, rounder, more intense, but there are more refined details in Le Roche.
But both are really amazing terroir. I think Cremant and Avize are also many, but if you see the story of the Grand Cru of Champagne, at the beginning, Chouy, Auger, and Ménil were only Premier Cru.
Yeah.
And then they became Grand Cru after. And Avize and Cremant were the only Chardonnay village in Grand Cru at the beginning. And yeah, historical part of the terroir, but I think it's really interesting to understand how our ancestor, the previous winemaker, see the terroir of Champagne. And now with the global warming, it changed a little bit. But we still have this grand terroir and where you can produce maybe from the best Chardonnay of Champagne.
Beautiful. And the last one.
Last but not least, this beautiful Chardonnay, sorry, Pinot Noir from Les Longrets, a single plot at the bottom of the slope also. Les Longrets means the long row, because you have here some row of vine which make more than 300 meters. So it's a really long row of vine.
Yeah. I'm looking at the map, trying to see.
Yeah.
Where do you have the windmill, for instance? In comparison.
Do you see? So the windmill would be here.
Okay.
And the lighthouse would be here.
Okay. Very close to the lighthouse.
Yeah. The map is a little bit tricky because it was too long to put in the right way with the north at the top of the slide. So the north is here.
Okay.
It's tricky.
But
so Pinot Noir, beautiful Pinot Noir, aromatic, a lot of minerality also thanks to the choke we have in the soil. It's something really important for us. We really would love and want to work on this terroir of choke. And here with this Pinot Noir, I think we can find this minerality, this fineness, but also all the aromatic and the complexity of a Pinot Noir from Verzenay.
Have you tasted Mumm Lalou, the Cuvée Prestige from Mumm?
No.
You should do that because this is very, very much of the same notes.
Okay.
I don't recall exactly which spots, but there are 7 or 8 plots. It's a 50-50 blend.
Okay.
But Verzenay is an important part of the Pinot side, and the majority, the driving force in that cuvée is having these aromatics, very much. So tasted blind, my head would have gone, oh, it might be, or why not?
Mumm Lalou.
Mumm Lalou.
After it can be a little bit tricky because people from Verzenay love to say they have Pinot Noir who look like Chardonnay and Chardonnay who look like Pinot Noir. So.
Yeah. Very good.
So, and this one is a really low quantity because we are under 1,000 bottles.
Okay.
But it's a really, really beautiful single plot, and we really love this one also.
Thank you for sharing them. Of course, they were.
Last time we made a restaurant with a special menu for food pairing with the champagne, and we had this Verzenay on chevreuil. Sorry, do you know chevreuil in French?
Yes.
It's game, you know.
Yeah, it's game. Hjort in Swedish.
Yeah. Also, yeah, sure, you have some. So.
Yeah.
But it was a special cooking for this chevreuil, this game.
Yeah.
But it perfectly matched with this Pinot Noir. It was amazing for us.
I get it. It's must be a beautiful combination. because
Sorry.
it's really meaty in style. There's both the structure, but even more, there is a little bit of gamey notes like you have before you cook.
Mm.
If you just smell um, uh, Sweden, we have the reindeers, for instance,
Yeah, rain.
very rare up north in Lapland, but we tend to eat it in a special place here. And when you get that, and before you fry it in the pan, you get this smell, very much of that in the champagne. Beautiful selection. What a lineup.
Yeah, we're really lucky to have those brewers which who we can work with, and they play the game to give us single plot, which is really
Yeah.
rare in Champagne to find people who want to do this to the end. I would say with the pressoir, because most of the time we don't have a full pressoir. It's maybe half pressoir most of the
Ah,
time.
yeah,
So yeah, we have plenty of partners who work with us, and yeah, thanks to them, we can produce all these different single plots and find this quality. It's
yeah,
something really important.
yeah. I know it's your babies, and normally, if you have many kids, you won't say you have your favorites. But my question is anyway, which one is your favorite
Uh,
of the six?
I really love Les Roches. It's my coup de cœur.
Okay, yeah,
Uh, but for the Chardonnay, and Les Longrets are also really good. But
mm,
yeah, if I have one bottle to take from all the range,
yeah,
it would be Les Roches.
yeah. For me, or if I keep one in the cellar, it will be Le Roche. If I drink today, it will be the Cremant today.
Yes, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
There are
but
maybe more.
it's more open, so that's part of it, and still got a lot of class and refinement as well. But it's a little bit showing slightly more Burgundian. It's more the Coton Charlemagne, and the other one is more Puligny
Mm,
Montrachet
yeah.
Premier Cru style, something like that.
It's still in the Côte de Beaune, so it's okay for us.
Yeah, yeah, true. So fantastic. I will see what I think I actually gonna buy reindeer since I spoke about that, and to have some kind of fish for a start, and then after that I will go with the reindeer if I can find it today. To see the
Yeah,
combination, I'll let you know how it was.
sure.
Beautiful. Thank you for taking your time,
Thank
and
you.
thank you for making such a great work.
Thank you
Uh,
for your time and for the tasting. And I hope
Beautiful.
you enjoy everything, all the champagne.
I did so much.